Man went to the doctors for the flu, ends up having his limbs amputated. Man goes to the doctors for the flu and loses his limbs. From the flu to a nightmare. During flu season, millions of people see the doctor to be diagnosed and treated. Most people expect to be properly diagnosed and then receive the necessary treatment to shorten the duration of the illness. What would you do if you went to see the doctor to be treated for the flu and ended up having your limbs amputated? It sounds horrifying, right? For most people, this is what nightmares are made of. A man named Alex Lewis went to see his doctor because he was suffering from flu symptoms. Sadly, his experience turned into the worst nightmare possible. This is the true story of the day. A man went to the doctors for the flu, but ended up having both of his hands and legs amputated. Alex's nightmare. Alex was always a healthy guy. He didn't get sick too often. But when flu season began, he started to feel sick. It was just a few weeks later that he had to have his limbs amputated. The doctors told him that doing this was the only way to save his life. The procedure to amputate his limbs was physically agonizing. It also destroyed him emotionally. Alex's 2013 diagnosis. When Alex went to the doctor in 2013, he was told that he had the flu. The doctors instructed him to take a few over-the-counter medicines to treat his symptoms, and they told him to let the flu take its course. He was told that within a week he would probably be feeling like his old self again, instead of feeling like his old self. Though Alex did not start feeling better, he didn't go back to the doctor when he wasn't feeling better, and it turned out to be the biggest mistake of his life. Waiting out the flu. Alex didn't avoid going back to the doctor because he was lazy or neglectful. He thought that his strain of the flu was just taking longer to go away because it was more serious, so he decided to wait it out. After 2 weeks, he was feeling worse and he finally sought medical attention again. By then, his condition was much worse. He was a husband and a father, and he never expected to be fighting for his life due to the flu. From a common cold to strep A, Alex originally believed that he had a cold. When he went to the doctor, he found out that he had the flu. He had no idea that his flu would also cause him to develop strep A. It was this infection that changed the poor man's life forever. The only treatment possible. When the doctors told Alex that he was suffering from a strep, an infection that had spread, he was told that he would need to have his legs and his arms amputated, as if this wasn't bad enough. He also found out that his face would be permanently disfigured. Alex's wife Lucy. When Alex's health deteriorated, his wife Lucy was distraught. She said that if Alex would have started experiencing the symptoms in July, she might have questioned his illness because it wasn't flu season because he started showing symptoms in November, though she was sure that it was just the flu. She says that Alex was eating normally. He was still going to work and doing a few other things. His flu symptoms were minor and she didn't think it was cause for concern. Amputation, to save his life. Sadly, Alex was suffering from something much deadlier than the flu. He had a streptococcal infection. The infection got into his bloodstream, causing it to become poisoned. It wasn't long before the infection caused his organs to begin failing. Alex was dying. The doctors decided the only way to save his life was to amputate his limbs. At the time, Alex and his family couldn't figure out why they needed to take his limbs to save him. 10-day coma. The doctors discovered that it was Alex's limbs that were the most infected by the strep. By this time he developed septicemia and he slipped into a coma. The doctors decided the only option was to amputate his legs and his hands. Waking up. When Alex woke up from his 10-day coma, he found he had no limbs. The doctors tried to save his right arm, but it was too late. The disease had infected it too seriously, removing a section of his face. The infection spread so quickly it began to infect part of his face. The only way to save his life was to remove a section of his mouth for Alex. His biggest nightmare was happening. He was helpless as the doctors were removing parts of his body. His family saved him. Alex was only 33 years old when his world fell apart. He says that with the support of his wife and his son Sam, he was able to see that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. He was a father and a husband and they needed him. He realized that he was lucky the doctors were able to save his life. Alex is an inspiration. Alex didn't let everything that happened get him down since his medical ordeal. He has gone boating, kayaking, even skydiving. He's traveled all over the world and he even went to Greenland. He decided to take a terrible thing and turn it into something great. He says that now he embraces his life in a way that he never could before. Before he got sick, Alex says that he lived an average ordinary life. He went to work every day, spent time with his family. He put his career before everything, after almost losing his life. He realized that he may have been wasting it all rather than spending his days in the office. He decided to get out into the world and live his life. Alex says that while he is physically disfigured and disabled, he's not let it stop him from doing things that he never knew he wanted to do before he became ill. He is a true inspiration. Subscribe for more.